You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, the latest with what is going on with current Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy. The scouting combine wrapped up last week, and everybody's got a take. Everybody's got a report on what the Minnesota Vikings are going to do at the quarterback position. So we'll try to break it down on today's show. But my number one takeaway from the combine last week is that the Vikings have made it clear that they still believe in J.J. McCarthy, but they want serious competition. This is not a situation anymore where the Vikings are looking for a 17-game starter. They're looking for somebody who is going to make J.J. McCarthy better, and they think competition and two dudes battling it out will get the most out of number 9, J.J. McCarthy. But they also don't want to just turn the keys of the franchise over to him this upcoming season. They really want to make him earn it and to make him check a lot of boxes so they're not completely done with him, but also they're not completely bought in. They're kind of in this middle waiting period on J.J. McCarthy. So we'll talk about these reports coming up, but let's get crazy for a second. I want you guys to put on your craziest hot take hat you have on right now. And what is your hottest take on the Minnesota Vikings? It could be on what they're going to do in the draft, what they're going to do in free agency. J.J. McCarthy. Give me your hottest take on the Minnesota Vikings. Can't wait to go down in the comments section and see what you guys got to say. All right, so first off, what is J.J. McCarthy doing right now as we're filming this video here on March 2nd? What is McCarthy up to? Well, currently, he is working out with former NFL quarterback John Beck of 3D QB, one of the more prominent QB development shops. Kevin O'Connell talked about this on a recent interview with the Vikings Network. So that's what J.J. McCarthy is doing, putting the work in. Love to hear it. Hopefully he takes some big strides. You guys will stand by it. The best thing that can happen this offseason to the Minnesota Vikings is J.J. McCarthy. He beats out whoever they bring in for competition, and he takes some big-time strides this offseason. But Alec Lewis saying this, which was a little concerning in his recent article, saying, the word used by more than a handful of team sources to describe McCarthy's play was inconsistent. That was the theme of his 2025 season. Even during his best stretch, the 4 games he played between weeks 14 and 18, the Vikings staff did not know what to expect during the week or on game day. This resulted, and this part really stuck with me, this resulted in visible stress for O'Connell in interviews and privately around the TCO Performance Center. Out of all the reports we have heard on J.J. McCarthy, this has to be the most troubling one. The fact that Kevin O'Connell and this Viking staff didn't know what to expect day the day, game the game, after almost being with this kid for a year and a half. I understand this is his first year starting. This was his second year in the National Football League. This was his second year being a pro. And the fact that they make it seem like, oh, he was the little brother where we didn't know if he was going to bring it that day, if he was going to be locked in. He is the franchise quarterback. He is the face of your organization. And the fact that Kevin O'Connell and the staff didn't know what to expect on a day-to-day basis, that's incredibly concerning. Also, the part about KOC being stressed, like we saw it listening to his press conferences last year. The guy looked frustrated. The guy looked upset. So this is an incredibly troubling report. But Alec Lewis carried on by saying this. So what is Minnesota evaluating with McCarthy? From an on-field standpoint, refined footwork, and improved ability to layer passes and more rhythmic play from a processing standpoint. The Vikings knew they were drafting traits. Perceived upside is why they selected him and not Bo Nix as the 5th of 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round in the 2024 draft. Okay, well, it's being reported. The Vikings knew they were drafting on traits, so it kicks me back to last offseason. Why did they not bring in a better backup quarterback? Number one, you took a kid who's got sky-high potential. I think J.J. McCarthy does have sky-high potential. His arm talent's ridiculous. He was second in the NFL in big-time throw percentage this past season. That's not a fluke. That's for a reason. But clearly, he needs a lot of development. So he was coming off a torn meniscus, a developmental player, and you didn't want to bring in a high-end backup because of a comp pick. Like, that's where this Vikings organization does feel a little dysfunctional. But this was also incredibly concerning. The Vikings also knew they were drafting a young player. What they did not envision, especially following an encouraging first training camp that preceded his torn meniscus, was the challenge posed by some of the more elemental aspects of being the face of the franchise. These growth hurdles have become widely known among NFL executives and coaches, and they were frequent topics in Indianapolis. I think the number one concern for J.J. McCarthy is, number one, the coaching staff doesn't view him as a grown up. I think his teammates don't view him as a grown up. I think the Vikings right now, they are hoping, number one, obviously, he develops as a player, as a quarterback. I bet you if you ask them behind closed doors, what do you hope, either on the field or off the field, where does JJ get better? I bet you they actually say off the field. I think they need him to mature fast. It feels too often where we're hearing Brian O'Neill, TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, when they talk about JJ McCarthy, they almost view him as the little brother. You're the franchise quarterback. Do you think the guys in the Bears locker room view Caleb Williams as their little brother? Do you think the guys in the Patriots locker room view Drake May as little bro? Absolutely not. That's the number one concern with McCarthy. He feels too young. He feels too immature. And his play on the field replicates that. He feels immature. He feels too young. So they're hoping he grows up because they can go with all the struggles during the season. But if he starts losing his mind every single week during practice, which is kind of seems like he was, just losing confidence, getting too skittish, like just in his own personal life, like it's a concern. They hope he matures fast. And I thought this was a great quote from Jeremy Fowler. It's kind of like when you get broken up with or somebody starts seeing other people. When they do that, it's kind of clear it's probably over. Talking about the J.J. McCarthy situation. And I agree with Jeremy Fowler. It does kind of feel over for McCarthy in 2026. Is it over in terms of him potentially being a Vikings quarterback down the line? I don't think so. If you told me, all right, we bring in Geno Smith, we bring in Kyler Murray, they start one season, we go to the playoffs, we're one and done, and 2027, J.J. McCarthy's the guy. Or even if you bring in one of those guys, doesn't go well first 2 months of the season, then J.J. McCarthy ends up starting, I could see that. But let me ask you guys this. And also I will say the heavy favorite on the answer to this question is yes. For the gambling addicts out there, I'd probably put yes at minus 500, no at maybe plus 375. But will J.J. McCarthy start another game for the Vikings? How are you feeling right now? Why for yes and for no? Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll talk more about J.J. McCarthy here in a second, but let me tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and use code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. Now, cold days are upon us, and if you guys still got some big goals but know what time to cook, well, Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs. So eat well without the planning or cooking. Factor, they have no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. And here covering the Vikings at Chat Sports, don't always feel like making a home-cooked meal when I get off of work. A lot of late days, but that's where Factors came in and completely changed my life. Always fresh, never frozen. Ready in about 2 minutes. There's no prep and no stress. So head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off. Use promo code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. All right. We got a report floated out there this weekend from NFL insider Tony Pauline on J.J. McCarthy. He said the team is really down on quarterback J.J. McCarthy and is ready to move on from the 2024 first-round pick. First off, if you guys are on Twitter, if you guys are watching any videos out there and you see somebody credit Tony Pauline as an actual source, thinking this is something that could happen, it's ludicrous. He put this out there because he understands it's going to get clicks. Everybody knows the game. If you put Vikings trading J.J. McCarthy in a headline, you're probably going to get a lot of people to click on that video. But my reaction to this would be like, why would the Vikings trade J.J. McCarthy? What advantage would they have to trading him? Even if they don't plan on starting him in next game this upcoming season, why would they trade J.J. McCarthy? That makes no sense to me. They can rest him. They can have him develop behind the scenes. And potentially in 2027, you still have that asset of J.J. You're getting terrible ROI if you were just trade him for a third, fifth-round pick. Makes no sense. That one, it's not really giving too much credit to that reporting. But Matthew Berry, he does this every single season. At the combine. He'll come out with his 35 things that he heard. And number 7 on his list was talking about Kevin O'Connell and Aaron Rodgers. He said, I heard that last year, Coach Kevin O'Connell wanted Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers was interested in Minnesota. But the overall Vikings organization was not on board. So obviously, Rodgers went to Pittsburgh, and the Vikings went with McCarthy. With organizational changes to the Vikings front office, Rodgers is once again on the Vikings' radar, but then again, there will be a full team decision if they decide to pursue him. And if you guys remember last year, like Rossini kept coming out with these reports. Alec Lewis, I think, had one where it was like, oh, the Vikings, there's some chatter within the organization that Kevin O'Connell, that the Vikings could want Aaron Rodgers. And everybody was just like, oh, she's doing this for clicks. Maybe she was right. Like, what if Kevin O'Connell was a bit frustrated that the organization did not want Aaron Rodgers, and he was telling them, like, hey, we could go win a playoff game next year. We could be very successful with Rodgers, and he got frustrated, started leaking stuff to Diana Rossini. I think that's on the table. And also what Matthew Berry said about that last part, where he said it has to be like the whole organization on board. You know what I would actually love this offseason? If Kevin O'Connell put his nuts on the table and said, we are signing Aaron Rodgers. And that's it. He's our 17-game starter. He was like, I'm bringing him in. We're winning a lot of games. J.J. sitting for a year. And he just came out and said that. That would actually fire me up a lot. But I still think Aaron Rodgers is unlikely at this point. But another QB rumor here for you guys. Adam Schefter, he wondered if the Vikings will show interest in Daniel Jones if the Colts place the transition tag on him. I think if the Vikings even do show interest in Daniel Jones, the Colts are probably matching every single offer with the transition tag. So, like, let's just say they do put the tag on him. Vikings maybe offer him a 1-year, $15 million deal, same deal they offered him last year. Colts will probably just match that. So don't really want to put too much legs into the Daniel Jones Vikings rumors. But you guys have any of your thoughts on this? I have no idea what the answer to this question would be. Who do you think Kevin O'Connell wants as QB1 for next season? Curious to see what you guys got to say. Drop your thoughts down below, and we'll get on out of here. As always, Skol Vikes.